same time we have like the department meeting.
All right.
So
all colleagues are there.
Exactly. So, possiamo iniziare?
Sì.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very pleased to welcome Professor Evangelinos from Dresden University, who's here as an exchange professor, Erasmus professor. This is a long-standing tradition, we could say, between Dresden and myself more than anything else, because at the beginning it was Bernard Wieland and myself, so it was Dresden and Urbino. But when I moved to Roma Tre, we also developed a relationship, an institutional relationship between Dresden and Roma Tre. I'm very pleased that Professor Evangelinos is here with us. This is his second time, and the issue that he will be addressing in the present lecture relates to the effects of parking cash out on modal choice. Since the floor is yours, you can do anything you want now, but I would suggest like having a 20 minutes, half an hour presentation. I don't know if you need more, and then we should be having some discussion after the discussant. Professor Valerio Gatta has presented his reflections on your paper. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my presentation. Eduardo, I would like to thank you for hosting me here for the second time. It's a very long tradition that both institutions have here. Well, at second, I would like to say sorry for something. I would like to say sorry for standing here and probably explaining you some matters that people do not care out in the street. People have very serious concerns out in the street, in our society, dealing with everyday life, dealing with economic crisis, and I will talk about parking cash out in here. So I'm sorry for this. And you know, economists are accused nowadays not to have foreseen the crisis coming. And this is true. This is true, and I could start now talking about it and saying, all right, they're just macroeconomists, but I'm a microeconomist. I will not do this. I just think that the big majority of colleagues deals and has very good models, but the main assumption that they do is they want a state of the world that is ideal. The ideal, the perfect state of the world, which means policymakers seek welfare maximization. If we relax this assumption, and this is what a lot of, not a vast majority of colleagues does, these are very few colleagues that relax this assumption. If we relax the assumption of welfare maximization and take into account that policymakers probably seek maximizing their own private welfare, then we could have probably foreseen this crisis. But I want to talk to you today about transport. And yesterday we were discussing with PhD students the benefits of transport and how can we measure them. Today I will talk about the problems of transport. And you know, everybody knows that transport has a lot of problems. Transport causes congestion, it causes negative environmental effects. And you know, if transport is a part of the problem, it should also be part of its solution. But I personally believe that there is not such a big total solution, but rather a package of small solutions. So this what I'm going to talk to you today is a very, very small part of this package. So I switch slide. And we will talk about parking cash out, which means that people are rewarded if they leave their car at home, if they don't use it. So, at the beginning I will deal around 2 minutes, I think, just on parking social costs. Then the next step, what we're going to do is to compare parking policies against road pricing. This is what economists suggest. And then I would probably give some advantages and disadvantages whether parking cash out could be an alternative. And finally, we'll present you a model which indicates this. So let's start. Well, talking about parking is almost the same talking about traveling. You know, every traveling car needs a parking space, at least one, probably two. So we have a kind of complementarity in demanding here, right? And parking causes costs. And these are really not, these are considerable costs. You know, for instance, the opportunity cost of parking space. We could use the space where it's now dedicated for parking in order to do some alternative activities. And Donald Shoup calculates these costs of about $124 per month. This is a very high amount of money. Well, in addition, we have the phenomenon of cruising for parking. Because we have not efficient parking charges, and we have not efficient parking capacities, people, in many cases, especially at peak hours, are just cruising in order to find a parking space. And this itself, it happens here in Rome a lot. I had the opportunity to see this in the last days. This itself.
This is extremely important.
Yes.
Extremely.
It causes congestion and it causes negative environmental externalities. So we have some insights from Netherlands in here. This
Can we make this interactive?
definitely.
I think this is an extremely important point that does not only have environmental repercussions, I think it should also be modeled in the private decision making, in the sense that this, as a matter of fact, introduces, in my opinion, uncertainty concerning the overall cost of travel.
Yes.
Because especially when you, I mean, this is maybe not so much true in systematic choices, in systematic displacements, but suppose you're going somewhere here in Rome where you do not know, you may end up, I'm thinking of a specific place I'm visiting from time to time when I go and have dinner at a friend's house. You may end up traveling, cruising for half an hour, 45 minutes, before you get one single free parking space. Yes. And you do not account that. It's very difficult, especially if it's not systematic, to take that into account and make the correct mode choice.
Yes.
So I think this is super important.
Yes.
And this is
There's less evidence in this, you know, on less modeling work on this. So it could be a possible future research line, definitely. So, and the third one is what puzzles me and what I'm dealing with. This is the so-called employer-paid parking. So, everyone who travels to work, in many cases, gets a free of charge parking space at work. So, the employer provides the parking space for free. Exactly this changes relative prices. It causes distortions because it is more or less a preferential treatment of private car. And these are very huge amount of money that Shoup calculates $36 billion for USA, and Van Ommeren and Benting, they calculate even $60 billion for USA, just $5 billion euros for the EU. So this is a lot of money, and we're talking about distortions now. The question is, how can we handle these distortions? And the most, the answer that we mostly hear is that we just need to introduce road pricing schemes. This is certainly the case. Any economist would propose this, me too. But there's also the opportunity, oh, it works, okay, to substitute road pricing with parking charges. And this is exactly what this diagram shows. So we have the typical congestion diagram in here, and 0 is the flow without any charge. The efficient charge would be N1, and if we add the distortions or the welfare losses or the externalities of parking space, then we have a new total social marginal cost curve, and we would have an N-star equilibrium. So, now we say that there is complementarity of demand between parking and traveling, and so we can reflect this flow to this demand curve for parking. And that means that F star is the efficient parking charge. So in theory, we would replace road pricing with parking charges. But certainly we cannot affect all dimensions of a trip just with parking charges. We cannot affect the area of driving, for instance, the chosen route. We cannot affect whether people drive fast or not that fast, and we cannot affect whether people drive bigger or not that big cars. Exactly these 3 dimensions of the trip could be affected much better by road pricing schemes. So, but still there is a discussion going on, what is better? And we have some insights in literature. The first one, I've taken it from Albrechts and Mahalel, which more or less say that acceptability for parking charges seem to be higher than for road pricing. This seems for me to be in line with Zajak's principles of fairness. Well, Zajak formulated 6 principles what people do regard to be fair and what not. So this seems to be in line with the Zajak's principles of fairness, because we had parking charges so for a long time, people are used to it. But they deny something that is new, that changed the state of the world. But if we go a little bit further, let's take a look on road pricing and acceptability. We know that road pricing has acceptability problems. And there are mainly 2 research lines in this. The first one is acceptability and psychology, and the second one is acceptability and political science. So, I will take the political science. I think we are in a faculty of political sciences. So this would be better. And the main insight that we have from this research, and Eduardo you did yourself such research with a citizen candidate team, is that it is very important for the acceptability how to use revenues out of road pricing. So if we use revenues out of road pricing in order to subsidize public transport or in order to enhance road capacities, then it is possible that road pricing will be more acceptable than previously. And this is also a work made by the Borger and Prost. They use the voting game in order to calculate this. And recently, Peter Bonsal did a very interesting proposal, said in order to enhance acceptability, we will do the following: we can just remove parking charges. So this is the kind of reward, this is the kind of compensation.
Well, which in fact has already been used, because while other people study these things, we as Italians do them, in the sense that the previous mayor of Rome, in his previous campaign, in order to get elected, he promised he would remove all the, without imposing any road pricing, he would be removing all the, what we call the blue lines, that is charging parking space.
Yes.
And he did, got elected. Once he discovered how much that would cost in terms of lost revenues, he put them back on.
All right.
He had already been elected. So.
All right. So, certainly this is a very interesting proposal, but I'm not sure that removing one distortion by introducing another distortion is a good policy. This is the first. And the second problem that I see is that political distortions, as Eduardo just said, may still exist. And I'll give you an example which has been initiated by Jean-Jacques Lafon. He said that there could be such cases in where the lobbying activities of certain special interest groups can affect the price structure and the price level in such a way that they can move burden to the other groups. And in this case, we have a differentiated pricing scheme, but the political distortions are very high. So political distortions could still possibly exist even if we do this or we proceed to this strategy proposed by Peter Bonsal. I'll give you an example from London. You know, the residents of the tolling area of London, that they live within the tolling area, will just pay 10% of the total fee, and the milkman has not to pay anything. The milkman is the one who delivers milk in very early in the morning. So there are political distortions due to lobbying, and the idea is that we could possibly remove these kind of distortions and enhance acceptability with parking cash out. So we said that employer-paid parking has very, very high opportunity costs. I'll give you another example from Munich, from Germany. We had a couple of years ago a student who was written her diploma thesis in there, and is written it by BMW. BMW has 7 big parking buildings within Munich because there are at least 9,000 people working without traveling by car every day. So
with BMW,
certainly, I suppose. So this is a lot of money what we're talking about. And if BMW could use this money or could use this space for an alternative purpose, let's say constructing an administrative office or something like this, they could possibly enhance efficiency and certainly profits. So the idea is that these profits could be shared with employees. So the employees are getting rewarded by the firm in order to leave their car at home, and if they use it, then they have to pay a parking charge. They still have the option. they still can use it. So this is exactly the point that enhances acceptability.
So they are given money and an option.
Money and an option. So, and the idea is what happens with mode choice now. How do people come to work if they have this option? So, oh yeah, this is, if you want to see it or you want to hear it, this is the theoretical treatment of this. We have I suppose everybody is familiar with microeconomics in here. So we have an indifference curve, we have a budget curve, and this is private car, the trips by private car, and these are all other goods. So we have an indifference curve, and we have a budget curve, and at point A we have the number of trips. So we now introduce a parking charge. That means the budget curve changes its slopes and shifts inwards. This is that one. And in this case, we would have a C equilibrium. But now we reward people. So we give them the money in order to come back to their old budget curve. That means the new budget curve shifts outwards, and we have a new equilibrium at B. So, in other words, we reward the trip makers with an income effect. It means that the substitution effect still can be there first, but we don't know at what range. So it could be high or it could be no existing. So this is what I'm going to test now. So there is some evidence, or minor evidence in this. Cash out is low in California. But in California we have a problem that we have the law for parking requirements. That means that if you construct a building, then you must provide a certain number of parking spaces. That means that there is a lot of parking space which is not used, and people have a lot of parking space where they can park. So parking cash out has not been really an option which brought some results in there.
Maybe
but still,
I'm thinking the wrong way. Maybe that's exactly why they passed the law, since it was not binding.
Was not binding, exactly. So
that's why the law passed. You know?
Oh, okay.
I'm very.
We are in the Facultà di Political Science again. Yes.
I pass a law since there is no need for that law, and then everybody agrees.
But this is California, it's not you.
Okay, but still, Donald Trump made a kind of research and could find out a move of modal choice, of mode choice, of modal split of around 11%. That means 11% of people who initially used the car after the introduction, this was a case study with four firms. After the introduction of the parking cash out, they didn't took the car to go to work. So there is some evidence in there. We have one or two, I think, two cases in Europe where it has been introduced. This is in Great Britain. A very famous pharmaceutical industry producing these very famous and well-known blue pills. It's Pfizer. They introduced it, and there are some descriptive works in there from Eno and Waters, but this is just descriptive work. And we have an analytical model provided by the Borger and Witz. The Borger comes to the result that which is similar with Schub, and he calculates an overall welfare gain. But we have no sufficient mode choice modeling up to now. And this is what we try to do, and I will show you now some preliminary results. Oh yeah, I have the theoretical models, but I think everybody knows it. We have theoretical models, we have cost measurement models, and we have choice models with respect to parking. So especially choice models, you see we have parking charges and mode choice, and we have parking charges and the location choice for parking. So there is work done there, but nobody up to now touched parking cash out. Especially I would like to refer to Wilson. This is a paper of calculating the distortion in modal choice due to the fact that there is employer-paid parking. Okay, so I think you're familiar with this. So let's say what happens now. So we try to find out our mode choice if commuters are compensated, and if commuters are compensated, they still maximize their utility. That means if the utility of alternative I is higher than the one of alternative J, then alternative I is preferential. So, and we can do everything, all the stuff probabilistic. So we can define a vector of all attributes that we can measure, and we can define a vector of all non-measured or residuals. And if we do this, we can calculate under certain assumptions the choice probability for a certain mode. So, what is the data? We did an online experiment. We had 681 commuters, and at first we asked them on their revealed preference, on their behavior, everyday behavior. So we know where to travel to, how much time do they need, and so on, and all other information that you need to. And in the second stage, we presented them scenarios in part of cash out, and the cash out level was randomized. So we told them randomly they got a reward between 1 and 5 euro.
That you estimated on the basis of the first stage, or on information on market prices? For
so they had to do a new choice then. They said, if I had 150 euro, then I would take.
Yes, but the question I was asking
public
is,
transfer.
how did you define the 1 and 5 euros range? Is that based on the first stage when you asked people?
No basis at all. It's randomly chosen.
Yes,
Yeah,
but I'm asking for the range. How do you define the range 1 to 5?
Okay,
Because
okay.
we know the range of the attributes plays an extremely important role in determining choice. So, is that based on ex-ante information you got from the sample, or you estimated that via market information for the opportunity cost of land?
Yes. That's
groups
a very good
or
question. This range has been, we've done some other kind of experiments 1 year ago on mode choice. So we knew that in the sample for commuters we had travel costs of around 1 to 5 euro.
So that is the travel cost they incur for their trip?
No. The travel cost is still existing. They have travel costs, and we knew that people have travel costs of around 1 and 5 euros. So we gave them the reward of the travel costs, the reward back, you know?
No, but I don't understand. So 1 to 5 is the additional cost for parking, and in that case I would like to know if it's yearly, monthly,
This
hourly.
is daily.
This is the after
Daily.
daily. Because in Rome, 1 hour parking is €1.5.
Yes.
1 hour, so it's totally different. But So this is just considered as additional to the previous generalized cost, which
Exactly. Exactly. So people would get this amount of money, 1 to 5 euro, and if they wanted to travel by car, they should pay it back.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So we can afterwards